Andrew Gilman with us now. How panicked are you?
How panicked am I?
Yeah, about the Thunder.
Odd that you would ask me. Oh, I thought you just meant in general, in life. And the answer would be about an 8.
You're super paranoid, Rob Lowe.
I'm not super paranoid. I'm just always nervous about something.
You are always nervous about something.
I've got issues.
You're the opposite of Purvis Ellison.
I am always nervous. That's exactly right. That's a good
always
call.
Nervous Gilman.
What year is that, Todd? About 84?
He made a 30-year-old reference. That's
right.
You know what, though? I got it. And you know what? You shouldn't change your references because of your audience. You make the references, and if they catch them, good for them.
That's right. Exactly. And I'm 32, and that's a 30-year-old reference.
Well, that's...
Hey, wait a minute.
Hashtag brilliant toddler.
Wait a minute. I object to your philosophy on that, Gilman, because if that's the case, then we should all be okay with everything that every coach does. Scott Brooks, Bob Stoops, Mike Gundy, because hey, it's their way of doing things, though. It's their way. No, we're going to have it. You don't want them to adjust to the personnel that they got. That's what you're saying.
No, I don't believe that we're talking about the same stuff. I'm saying don't dumb it down. Don't dumb it down for your audience is all I'm saying. And I think that coaches generally do. I will take the other side of your Twitter argument last night, which I tried to figure out to do in 140 characters, but I couldn't, so I gave up. When you were saying that they shouldn't mic up these coaches, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, yeah. Let me set it up. I said that they throw Scott Brooks, and this goes for every coach in the NBA. When they do
like your theory, but go ahead.
Inside the huddle,
yep.
When they do the little mic'd up stuff. Now the NBA and these television networks have an agreement, like no X's and O's stuff. All right, just all the coach speak, let that through, and that to me just makes these coaches sound far less intelligent and far more kooky than it should, and I think it's almost pointless. It's a bad look on the coaches.
No, it's not, because I think that, and you hear Greg Popovich saying the same stuff that Scott Brooks says, the same stuff.
Yes, and it doesn't help him at all either.
You know why? Because I think during the course of a season, or in a playoff game for that matter, to go over X's and O's inside of a huddle, inside of a game, whether it's the first quarter, third quarter, or fourth quarter, or whatever, is pointless. They do that during the week. They have to find some sort of tonic during the game to get these guys going. And it might be Greg Popovich saying, we need some more mean or nasty. Remember when he had that, we need some more nasty out of you guys. Now, that sounds a little more compelling than Scott Brooks saying play hard on defense and don't forget to block out or whatever they say. But they're not going to get technical in the huddle. That's not the time for it. For example, when you're learning to drive a car and you remember to put your right arm here and then you look over your shoulder there and then you put the car in gear there, if you had to actually remember all of the things that you have to do on a daily basis to drive your car, you'd never get out of the driveway. It's too difficult. You just learn to do it. They do all that difficult stuff during the week. They're not going to waste time. The coaches are not going to waste time during the game going over that stuff. It's a waste of their time.
They do X's and O's, though. They do. It's just
that
they don't allow it to be aired. They don't allow it to be aired because you don't want to, it's trade secrets, obviously.
But I think there's more of that motivational sort of stuff that goes on during the games than X's and O's stuff.
It's not like anyone's going to pay attention anyway, Zach. Hell, the Thunder players don't even pay attention to it, I don't think.
Come on now. Don't pile on. I'm just saying, in any case, they're better off trying to find a way to motivate them than to try to say, don't forget to set this back screen here and get your shoulder square there and your hip in that spot there. They're not going to do that.
What's the biggest problem in your eyes with the Thunder?
It's hard to imagine that we're, a couple weeks ago we're talking about how they're locked for the playoffs, and we've sort of written off the narrative that they can miss the playoffs. Problem is Durant and Westbrook. Man, I don't know what the deal is. They're the same team as they were last year. They've got essentially the same team and more pieces with Morrow, if you think about it. So to think that they're dropping off is sort of inconceivable. But they sure didn't look interested at all last night. They didn't look, and after the first quarter they were fine. But man, they look disinterested, and I don't know what that is. I have a hard time believing they're trying to get Scott Brooks fired, but I think the problem is motivation in some regard.
What motivation do you need? I mean,
if you're asking me, the answer is simple. you asked me what the problem was. They don't look motivated. I don't know how to solve that.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, what motivation do they need? It shouldn't be any at this point. There are only, 40-something games left, and they need to start scrambling. They're not 27-10.
Are you in on this trade? Are you in on this trade?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, Brook Lopez doesn't really do it for me. To me, I don't know that a big guy in the middle is the way to go. I mean, what's Durant going to do? Start throwing the ball down low to the post, and then they just run some sort of motion offense? It doesn't seem to fit what they really do. Now, you could also argue, Andrew, what they're doing right now isn't working either, which is a really, really good point. But I don't think that's the offense you want to run with perimeter guys that create their own shots, is to start throwing it down low and then seeing what happens. I also would argue that Brook Lopez might not be that much of a better defender than Kendrick Perkins. And I also would argue that dealing Kendrick Perkins at this time doesn't seem like a great idea, because the locker room atmosphere, to me, is tenuous. It could come apart, and I think Kendrick Perkins is a guy that could hold it together.
I mean, I'm not in there as much as you are, but we've been in there together a handful of times, and I'm with you. I don't know, man. I'll put it to you this way: it's been uncomfortable in there, especially recently.
Sure, and they've had Deion Waiters next to Reggie Jackson. So,
did you feel at all, or did I make too much out of it, the vibe at practice before they left for Houston? Like, coming off a win. I mean, I know you had some time off, but coming off a win, it sure seemed down.
Well, we caught the very end of it, so it's hard to – yes, you're probably reading too much into it, but we're also caught the very end of it where they're just shooting free throws and working on their individual skill stuff. We don't know what the actual practice was like. And also, I'll give them a little bit of a break because they'd gone 4 days in a row at each other and things like that, so they're probably worn down from practice to some extent, as much as you can be, but I didn't take much out of that other than that's just how they are. I mean, that's just how those guys seem like they always are.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how disappointed were you that you didn't get to interview Russell Westbrook after the game last night?
Oh, man.
Oh, my gosh.
There. I know.
Did you did you read the transcript? I can read it to you if you want.
Please do.
Question.
This is great.
How disappointing was that first quarter after all the days off? Answer, disappointing. Question, Can you put your finger on what went wrong in the first quarter? Answer, disappointing.
Okay.
Question, this Rockets team looks a little different than the first time you played them. What'd you think of the new guys? Answer, what new guys?
Good.
Josh Smith and Corey Brewer. You might want to ask the Rockets about their own players. End of scene.
Well, I will say the Rockets did bring the headband game strong last night with Smith and
the buddy bands were in full effect.
And Jason Terry, who's my favorite player in the NBA, by the way. Love those guys. Love the headbands. They made Josh Smith look like an all-star last night. You know, I mean, his plus-minus was a plus, and I don't ever remember seeing Josh Smith as a plus. But that's another story. Russell Westbrook I've always felt like you learn more from a loss than you do from a win. Whether you're a reporter or a player, for that matter. Because after a win, everyone basically acts the same way, and everyone's kind of happy, and, way to go, team, that sort of thing. But for the most part, as a writer, since I started working for Fox several years ago, I like to go to the visiting team's locker room in Oklahoma City because, well, generally they lose here, and they say more interesting things. So I would much rather talk to Russell Westbrook after a loss than a win. But if he's only going to use 3 words, then that doesn't really do anybody any good other than to say that's just sort of how he is.
Andrew, don't go anywhere yet.
Todd is an international superstar. He's well-versed in Italian cuisine, Asian-made vehicles, and European soccer. Excuse me, football. But management frowns upon Todd's soccer talk. Screw it. Let's sneak in some real quick. Here's 10 seconds of soccer with Todd Lisenbee.
I fit a lot in today.
Starting now.
Wet your palate with Tottenham Sunderland on Saturday, but Man City Arsenal is the main course on Sunday. Alexis Sanchez, Sergio Aguero, 2 of the best South American players.
And that was 10 seconds of soccer.
You didn't give Andrew any of that time.
No, I don't
have much time to yield. Actually, I did give Andrew time because I mentioned Tottenham Hotspur. There you go, Andrew.
There you go. We're into the 4th round at Leicester City. I like the draw.
No. This is over. It's over.
Oh, man.
See you later.
Okay. All right. I'll see you guys.
Right.
Sorry. Okay, bye.